Any questions? Yeah, so these are no questions, but suggestions to your questions. So if we can go back to the slide. Can you? Yes. So you mentioned of the public sector, getting to the government to get to the people. This is one suggestion from me that we can also look at social groups like NGOs, because currently these groups have wide range of audience following them due to their level of advocacy that they do. So to get information or share your reports, you can look at social groups in the environment sector. Yeah, and I'm speaking from experience that we are a youth group in the environmental space advocating for climate change, energy, forestry, and biodiversity. And as we're young people, whenever we move to fellow young people like us, they turn a listening ear to us and listen to us instead of of them seeing the same faces of government every day coming in, coming out with information that they don't know what. And oh God, I forgot this, but how can partners contribute and or benefit from these reports? So talking from my NGO advocacy sector is also, you can also partner with NGOs into these spaces, okay, because one of their key areas is engagement, ground level engagement of people living in a community. So let's take a mining area like this. How are these people affected, or getting there to get their information would be very, very beneficial, because these groups always engage them and they find comfort in them, because they see them as one of their own, as belonging to a particular group. Yes, also another opportunity to share your reports with them. And I believe that we sharing reports to a layman is not only to give him or her reports, but to inform and educate them as well on the realities on the ground from digital earth. Because I see a gap between the social area and the scientific space. Individuals who are not in the scientific space view it as a whole different world together. They do not know that there is a link between the scientific area that has an impact in their social area, and also their social life also having an impact in the scientific world. So getting down to that level can also give them the idea and education that these areas are interconnected and interrelated. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. We have Mohammed up next. Which are you going to go around?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for having me in this side event. My name is Mohammed Dabur. I'm a research scientist with the Science and Technology branch of Environment and Climate Change Canada. So before I start, I would like to thank James Jarvis and also, I think I should mention that we have in the room So my presentation is about and it's so is the newest generation of radar observation satellites of Canada. Is the evolution of the RadarSat space program. It's a space program which started in 1995. So this mission's no. Yeah, so this mission comes to ensure the continuous supply of remote sensing data and to respond to the increased needs for remote sensing images within Canada. Also, it comes to respond to the increased needs for products and services to Canadians. So RCM mission is aiming to add main applications, disaster management and ecosystem monitoring. So this is an overview of the RadarSat space program, which is, as I mentioned before, started with the launch of RadarSat 1 in 1995, in 2007, which is still in operation until now. It peaked with the RCM, which was launched in 2019. Here also the technical characteristics of these satellites. With one satellite and peaked with 3 satellites in terms of data acquisitions and in terms of data informations, what we call visualization, and imaging capabilities. Next slide. This is an interesting plot showing how the volume of from RadarSat 1 to the RCM. So we from RadarSat 1 to RadarSat 2 about 5 times more data, and this peaked with RCM where 50 or even more data compared to RadarSat 1. So I think last year we a year. Slide. Yeah. Also, this is a plot showing the of RCM in supporting a long list of applications. Is different from season to season. I am leading, and here I would like to speak about my experience. I'm leading the soil moisture retrieval project. So we after the melt of the snow and before the snowfall. Is very low or soil. So yeah, next slide. So yeah, the RCM is I would say characterized by a standard coverage acquisition plan. So this is a plan which secure the continuous acquisition of data of interest. Of applications. These applications are both operational and R&D applications. Also, there is a possibility for ad hoc and emergency operations as well. Back to the land applications, which include my project. We recently came up with systematic effective standard coverage acquisition plan, securing data like in 12-day time. This acquisition plan comes to address the needs of all land-related projects, so that we can eliminate any conflict of also, this plan is providing on average about 56 minutes per day. So this is, for example, in the soil moisture project, which is R&D project. We use RCM data and so you see here it's data using from coast to coast in the spring and fall. In each season, we receive more than 4K images, like more than 4,000 images over these. I'm showing also samples of the soil moisture retrieval so this is it's a very project linked to other projects like for example, and it's we hope these products to be part of the yeah, this is just a slide showing how RCM is becoming a strategic asset for Canada. Services. As I mentioned before, we about so this is about 60 times more big. My department, Environment and Climate Change Canada, is using the highest volume of data after the Department of both DND and ECCC are using about 55% of the data. Also, most of the data is used for this is expected showdowns. The good thing or the good news is the access to data. There is a possibility for data access. There is a written process, which is jointly by the agency and to get granted the access. Canadian federal organization, Canadian industry, academia, and international entities and parties. Also, we see on the right-hand side here that until now we have more than half of the vetted users are from the industry and from academia, which I think it's indication of the reachability and the importance of this mission to the community. Yeah, I would end my presentation without speaking about the GEO initiatives and the link with RCM. I'm mentioning here the GEOgram and the support of RCM to this initiative through the support of the GCAM, the Joint Experiment for Crop Assessment and Monitoring. It's the R&D portion of the GCAM, and are acquiring RCM data in a systematic mode. Most of sites in North and South America, Europe, and Asia. Yeah, so this is my presentation, and I'm providing here some links that I think would be useful for
Any questions? I was wondering how you incorporated any stakeholder input, either in societal benefits or in satellite design. Stakeholder input?
Yeah, the stakeholder input, you mean from outside the government? Or yeah, I mean, we have interest from the industry, and we have interest from the academia, and we have collaboration with them as well. So we are getting information from so it's data that important for their projects and so yeah, we something in a direct mode of stakeholders for the
Great, thanks. One more question here.
So Charles, making proceedings. My question is, there seems to be from Canada, you seem to focus a lot on radar data. Are there initiatives on that particular, and how have you been able to, because again, the progression from RadioSat 1 to then RCM, the value proposition to continue RadioSat mission, is it some do studies that have informed the continued utilization of that? And then the other question is, although you indicated there is areas that you task for it to collect data, is it global coverage? Any chance of having data from other regions on the globe like Africa? And how, if yes, then how can that data be? Thank you.
Okay, so for the part of the question related to the versus optical, yeah, expected so it's which is so it's important for us usage of it's also of interest, and I think the information to highest RCM is acquiring data over focus for mine is over Canada, but it's not possible.
Mohammed works mainly in the science, and my experience is with a little bit more on the policy side. So maybe I'll just add to what Mohammed has provided in answer to your question. So I mentioned in my last presentation, for those of you who were there, that Canada's working on or has released a national satellite EO strategy. Associated with that is also an investment roadmap that looks at all of our missions for the next 5, 10, 15 years and where we want to invest. So unlike the last 30 years where it has specifically been C-band, SAR, and RadarSat, we are looking to diversify a little bit and look at where our data gaps are. One of them is very much in the Arctic. So we're looking at an optical Arctic mission in a highly elliptical orbit that would potentially provide data for weather, greenhouse gas, and air quality over the Arctic. So that's one area that we're looking in. We've also recently been funded for a wildfire sat mission in Canada. So that's another area, and we contribute instruments to international missions with the US. So we are looking to do a little bit more than SAR going forward. And in answer to your second question about the coverage of RCM, so they are 3 satellites that do provide global coverage. The limitation with those, they're fairly small satellites that don't have a lot of capacity for storage. So they generally their capacity gets used up over Canada. So technically they could image other parts of the world, but often the capacity is not there. But it doesn't mean that it's not entirely possible, as Mohammed mentioned, through a vetting process to try to get access. But I'll be perfectly honest that it's very difficult. Did you have anything you wanted to?
Just on value studies, we were a big proponent. I've actually worked with Lawrence almost 10 years ago on socioeconomic benefits of EO. And, my experience in all of this in terms of mission proposals or downstream applications or the whole value chain with EO is the communication of the results to decision makers. And that's often the hardest thing to do when you do this. So we've spent, I don't know, maybe it was $1 million on a big socioeconomic study in 2013, looked at the value of geospatial information, looked at the geomatic sector. Many folks modeled their methodologies after that, but coming out of that, there was very little action as a result of the study's results. So what we're trying to do with an investment framework is map out where the decision points are for senior decision makers, but couple that with the business cases, return on investments that we're seeing, both within Canada and in the international community. But again, it's really that marketing, that brochure. This is what you get in terms of socioeconomic benefits from investing in satellites or Earth observations, in situ observations. So that's, from my experience, has been the most difficult part, and something that I think the community should focus on. What are the best practices there?
Other questions or comments?
I don't want to turn this into a Canadian side event.
Well, we have a Canadian next, so we're going to stay in Canada for a minute.
François Soulard with Statistics Canada. I think we see very little engagement from national statistics offices in GEO. Occasionally, like the local country, the host country will have Statistics Institute present. But speaking to GEO, if you want to get the if you want to reach the policymakers, if you want to reach students, if you want to reach anybody, in fact, you got to get integrated into the national statistical reporting system. And I think the reason why national statistics offices are not more present is because the GEO, Earth observation may not be consumable and an easy fashion for National Statistics Office that do not have generally Earth observation specialists. I have a few on my team, so that's great. But generally speaking, what we need as National Statistics Offices is what we call Earth accounting ready data. We need information that we can more easily integrate in our products without having to gain a lot of knowledge on how to process that information. Analysis rated data now for sure is a great improvement, but it's still a long trek for statisticians to get into using these data to report back to the public. And if you do want to get access to politicians and the parliaments of this world, you want to get into the national statistics.
Great point. All right, I think maybe we'll move on, just thinking of time here, but we're going to stay in Canada for one more minute. So these next ones are from GEO value members, so a little bit more technical on the socioeconomic side.
Hello, GEO value panelists and attendees. My name is James Jarvis, and I work within the Canadian Space Agency's Economic Research and Analysis team. To begin, I want to emphasize that valuation plays an integral role in better serving society. For example, Canada released Resourceful, Resilient, Ready, Canada's strategy for Earth observation this year, which emphasizes the importance EO and associated indicators for which value and benefits can be measured. Canada's RadarSat constellation mission, known as RCM, continues to be our primary EO mission, which supports critical services to Canadians in diverse areas such as maritime surveillance, ecosystem monitoring, and disaster management. A major part of the vision within this new strategy is to address climate change. We have done socioeconomic research in forecasting the benefits of potential future EO missions, such as WaterSat and terrestrial cinemass mapping mission, as well as WildfireSat. These all focus around better understanding and responding to the consequences of a changing environment. Canada's recent announcement of a significant investment in the HAWK mission, which stands for High Altitude Aerosols, Water Vapor, and Clouds, to the Atmospheric Observing System with NASA, JAXA, CNES, and DLR, further underlies the commitment to better serve society. The evaluation of EO is a core part of the CSA's mandate, which includes being able to ensure that space science and technology provide social and economic benefits for Canadians. But this can only be realized if we value what that means in the context of EO and work to demonstrate the benefits for Canadian society as a whole. Key success factor also includes involving underrepresented and underserved groups into the conversation when developing future EO missions. This is why our current EO socioeconomic benefit studies incorporate a gender-based analysis plus lens. The plus refers to other identity factors such as race, indigenous peoples, differentially abled persons, among others, and the approach aims to ensure that all segments of Canadian society are benefiting from EO. For example, outreach to Indigenous communities in most recent studies is a significant component of this effort. Overall, incorporating this lens underlies our commitment to better serving and understanding the needs of underrepresented groups. There are also a number of things that can be done to achieve a greater impact of EO and their applications on society, and valuation plays a role in supporting this future. For example, the second edition of Canada's National Forum on Earth Observation was hosted at the CSA in October 2022. Initial feedback from the forum clearly shows that closer collaboration and coordination are required between the academic sector, industry, Indigenous communities, and the public sector, as well as organizations responsible for EO data generation, comprehension, distribution, and transformation in order to utilize EO data as effectively as possible. Continuing to incorporate all of these stakeholders and assessing value for all of them will be critical in ensuring the maximum impact for society. This is also instrumental in supporting a future in which EO is leveraged to create a better world for all. Thank you so much for your attention, and I wish you all an excellent GEO week, and I'm very excited to hear what comes out from discussions from this side event.
All right.
So hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Sawyer, and I'm pleased to be with you virtually.
I was just going to say, we can't ask a James a question, but we do have some other colleagues in the room. Is there any comments or questions about James' short video clip? Okay, well, we'll jump. So I mentioned Jeff in the GEO value slides. He's been working on the Copernicus Sentinel studies. Okay, sorry.
So hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Sawyer, and I'm pleased to be with you virtually to tell you a little bit about the Sentinel Benefits Study, or SEBS, which we are leading in EARSC and for the European Space Agency and the European Commission. Let me just try and very quickly share my screen. So SEBS is a 5-year study which has developed a new methodology for looking at the benefits coming from the use of the data from the Copernicus Sentinel satellites. Whilst everyone's interested in the hard economic numbers, much of our methodology which is fully published on our website, looks at the benefits in non-monetary ways as well. And by constructing a portfolio of cases, we're able to gather further insights by doing cross-cutting analysis. For example, ways in which public agencies are able to benefit in many ways. An overview of our cases. These are all available on our website, so please go and browse and have a look around. They're available in different forms. Our approach, unlike traditional cost-benefit analyses, is very much a bottom-up focus. So we're taking a single product or service and looking at it along a value chain. The value chain has 4 tiers, starting with the information supplier, service provider in tier 1, followed by the primary user in tier 2, who is the key actor in this process. They're using the information in their daily work, which is benefiting their stakeholders, which we put into tier 3. And finally, we look at the impact on society and citizens, which is our tier 4. Now, for each tier, we look at how the stakeholders are benefiting. We categorize the benefits into 6 different dimensions, only the first of which is expressed in monetary terms. And often the non-monetary benefits are found to be more important than the monetary ones. So let me illustrate this by going to show you a video which summarizes the findings from one of the cases looking at ground motion monitoring in Norway. Just need to stop sharing. Come back to you in a minute. Share the screen here. Share.
It's the damaging and dangerous movement of the earth. The way has damaged infrastructure, sometimes damaged human lives. Many of what they know as deep fields, shaped by calcium and sites, definitely have exposed cliffs of ancient land which continue to move even today. The coast coming to our sites, one of the fuels, so providing tsunami, was part of coastal villages of Pets. The various living workplaces around the tsunami, the Norwegian Geological Survey has developed a land motion mapping service that provides annual measurements of ground movements over the country. The development of the roads of early standings by this uses the service to identify the geological problems that cause damage to plant areas. The large-scale high-resolution mapping made possible by the website is often the only way to detect the movement of ancient areas and identify the rest. The state road authorities, other authorities, and engineering companies plan to use the freely available service to map and monitor infrastructure. Sometimes we deal with development and improvement facilities. Identifying potential landfalls and perhaps even avoiding them reduces the risk of the census, damage tsunami, and disruption to daily travel plans for all traders.
So that was just a very quick overview of what we've been doing. I think the video summarizes it quite nicely. We enjoy working with others in the GeoBinary network and to enable others to build upon the methodology which we have developed. If you have any interesting cases, we should be very pleased to hear about them. In any case, we're happy to exchange and talk further of surrounding the SEBS work. Thank you very much for your attention.
We have one more video from the valuables group that I mentioned before too. So use a quick clip of that too.
Hello, my name is Yusuke Kuwayama. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, a fellow at Resources for the Future, RFF, and the director of the Valuables Consortium. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you virtually at GeoWeek about different methods for placing the value in Earth observations. The Valuables Consortium is a collaborative agreement between NASA to measure and communicate how satellite information benefits people in the environment when we use it to make decisions. And the way we do that is to conduct impact assessments and to develop material and activities for the community. As part of this capacity building work that we have created, that we hope is a useful categorization of the different ways in which social scientists can place a value on scientific information, including observations. The first method is quantification based on decision-maker testimonials. And this method relies on surveys or interviews with the decision makers, asking them to describe the actions they would have taken with and without the improved information. Second set of methods are known as stated preference approaches. And these approaches directly ask respondents about the value they place on a source of information. And it does so by asking questions such as, what would you be willing to pay to access this improved information? To receive information in terms that can be directly used to express the value of this information to the decision maker. Set of methods known as experimental approaches. Are implemented in lab settings, and they randomly provide improved information to some decision makers and withholds the information from other decision makers. And they're observing any differences that these decision makers in terms of decision and outcomes of the experience. We can place a value on the information that is provided to a subset of these decision makers. A set of approaches are known as quasi-experimental approaches, and these approaches examine decisions and outcomes when scientific information is available to certain decision makers over a certain period of time. This lack of information happens for some decision makers. These circumstances occur naturally as opposed to being imposed by the assessment team through an experiment, as in the previous set of approaches. And finally, a set of methods that exploit information on transactions in financial markets to the extent that people use financial markets to deal with uncertainty in future outcomes, as is the case in future markets. The prices paid by buyers accepted by sellers in these markets can reflect uncertainty influences their outcomes, and therefore can be indicative of information that reduces that uncertainty. So all of these methods for valuing Earth observations have disadvantages and advantages. And at the end of the day, the best method for impact assessment depends on the information to be valued and the decision context in which that information is used. And so if you would like to learn more about the advantages and disadvantages associated with each one of these categories of evaluation methods, I would encourage you to go to the Valuables website and section on tools and resources where you will find the explainer series, and second to last explainer addresses this issue of the pluses and minuses of different assessment methods in more detail. So on some new impact assessments that the Valuables consortium has just released, 5 of them to be exact. Several upcoming events that will be 2 webinars and casting event to be held before the end of this year. You can find more information about these impact assessments and upcoming events at the Valuables website, and you can register for events there as well. Thank you for your attention, and please feel free to reach out with any questions.
Okay, so that was our last video or last presentation. I do realize it's past lunch now, so I'm a little bit scared to hold anyone too much longer, but do we have any sort of final thoughts or any sort of comments or questions? One of the goals of having this side event was to kind of start a conversation about, to start a conversation about some of these complexities of working with different groups, thinking about the value chain, the different methods, and just kind of see if other people are struggling with the same things, if there's concerns within your groups. Did anything seem relatable to what your organization or your group is thinking about? Okay.
How do the GEOs fit into that? The regional GEOs also play, they also are value chain or showing that value. It will help the individual groups that are within the GEOs. So I don't know if they are currently playing a role.
Yeah, that's a great question. So he was asking about the regional GEOs and how they might fit within GEO value. And I think that's part of why we're here, right, is to maybe talk about some sort of overlap. We've been talking to Yost about different ways that GEO value might fit within GEO. And it's one of those sort of activities that seems to be more cross-cutting than like an individual sort of work program. So that's something that we're thinking about. We're hoping to connect with more of the regional GEOs to talk about different activities. So yeah, I guess in the future, to be seen sort of approach. Yeah.
So I'm actually on one of the teams for the Valuables Consortium, and I think it's a really good way of looking at value, because I have to remind everybody that when we talk about value of work, it affects policymakers in a lot of ways that we don't think about, right? So like I work at an organization that's here because of space sustainability, and we believe in having good Earth observation and other policies because that contributes to policymakers' willingness to work on these other issues. And so I think it's really important to think about value in a lot of ways, which is why I like the RFF Valuables Consortium. I will also say, however, they don't have a lot of reach. I was really pleased to see them here. They don't have a lot of reach in the space community and the space. They're more academic. And so I would encourage anyone who's interested in that program. Yusuke is great. I'm happy to make an introduction if you need me to. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here to raise awareness of value in ways that people can understand differently. Like a big study of the value of sentinel data is a big number and it doesn't mean a lot to people, but we can actually show a counterfactual. Like the project I was on was about polio vaccines in Nigeria in 2014 and 2015. And we could actually show the difference in like how much money was saved by using geospatial data in the previous year where they did it without geospatial data, and then the year when we used geospatial data to update census and other location information. So I think it's a really important thing for all of us to understand and to think about how our projects can use some of these same techniques. Like even if you're not going to be doing a study that has a number finally associated with it. Being able to explain value to policymakers in a lot of different ways and not just assume that everyone gets as excited as we do about the data, I think is really helpful. So definitely encourage everyone to take a look at some of those projects.
Great point. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that at least I'm working on with my team, right, is I don't think there's one right answer. Like some, you know, sort of stakeholders or downstream individuals might want some sort of outreach program. Some individuals might want that big quantitative number. And so I think what we're trying to do is, you know, implement a variety of approaches to one question or one project. So that seems to, you know, be having more positive results than here's like our one deliverable and everyone should use it. So I think it's also about kind of outreach within your project, but then also communication downstream and working with different statistics groups and things like that. But that, you know, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of things to do. So I think like the complexity of it has been something we've been working on.
So, followed your presentation, you want to assess the impact by designing before. But when we design, we end up with a tool. In our community, we call it logical framework. Frame that we use in a kind of Excel sheet. So my question, are there software or other tools that allow to monitor the indicators, and how do we assess or control the quality of those data? Sometimes in which I'm working, introduce myself, for the African Commission in the framework of and Africa. So we are implementing, it is a continental program of Africa, and it is implemented by 8 consortia spread all over the continent. So each of them have a logical framework. And it is supposed that we collect the data from them and validate the data. So these are my 2 questions about the tool. If it exists a tool from all of them, and then compile them and at the level of the continental level. How do we control the data? How I like the remark from Statistics Canada, because if, for instance, the indicators comes from national statistics institutions, it will be helpful. Comes from other institutions, you have to cross-check. Yeah, so this is my question. So I'm not sure if
are using the theory of change. A lot of funding agencies that require that you present your project proposal applying the theory of change model. The difference is that it is not a static model like the logical framework. It's much more interactive. It gives you opportunity to reflect on what you're doing. It shows that change the output you would like to see, and you can focus on output level. So the last outcomes. There's a lot to say about the theory of change. I can spend an hour on explaining and provide related to it, because of course there is also monitoring information I would like to suggest to browse your website and see what it is all about. It is much more interactive. It is much more about stakeholder engagement. It is much more about reflection on what you are doing and how that is linked to what you want to achieve. It's a lot about assumptions that you reflect every time. Okay, are we still reaching what we had in mind, or do we have to deviate from it? And then so that is a tool you can use.
Okay, I'm going to close out because I feel like people might be hungry. But I want to thank everyone for coming. I appreciate everyone's attendance and conversation. If you know of someone within your group that would be interested in working with GeoValue, either small